Right, just when you thought the videos were over and done with, I'm not in today, so I've left this work for you to do. I anticipate that you spend about half the lesson looking at employment law and the second half of the lesson looking at organisation charts. You have plenty of time to get the work and the activities I've left you done in those 45 minutes for each one. We're going to start off with employment law, okay? Um, this has been made a lot easier because there are really only three pieces of legislation you now need to worry about in terms of employment law, where if you go back a couple of years, you had to learn lots of individual pieces of legislation. The Equality Act that came into law in 2010 actually replaced nearly everything. So it should be a lot easier for you to understand the employment laws that are there. So basically, employment law is there to protect employees from unscrupulous employers. There are a number of laws in place. Okay. So as I said, the Equality Act is this main one. It prevents people being discriminated against. Now, the key thing is here is it covers everything. So you cannot be discriminated against because of your gender, because of your race, because of your colour, because of your nationality, your ethnic origin, your sexuality, and any disabilities. Now, as I said to you, if you go back before 2010, there had to be different pieces of legislation. In fact, there was the Sex Discrimination Act, the Race Discrimination Act, the Disability Discrimination Act. All of those had separate pieces of legislation. And what they did in 2010 is they brought them all together and put them into one. Okay, and as I said, it makes your life a lot easier because before then, each student would have to know each piece of legislation. All you need to know is that if somebody is being discriminated against, it is breaking the Equality Act. Okay, and it covers everything, and it includes they must be paid the same and given the same chances for promotions and everything else like that. It's not just about taking the mick or being horrible to someone, it's about treating everyone equally. The second piece of legislation is the Employment Rights Act. You can see this is 1996, so it's from before the Equality Act, but the Employment Rights Act looks at something slightly different. Okay, the key thing you have to know for GCSE is that the Employment Rights Act says that the firm does not need to give the worker a written contract of employment, but it must give a statement of particulars within 8 weeks of starting work. Okay, so it doesn't have to give them a contract, but it has to give them some sort of details, a statement of particulars. It has to be within 8 weeks of you starting, and it will include the job title, the hours, the details, when they'll be paid, what deductions will be taken, how much notice must be given, and any disciplinary rules. Now, if you look at that list, that's what you would expect to find in a contract of employment as well. So in most cases, it is best to make sure that your new employees have a contract within 8 weeks of starting work. And of course, as soon as you have a contract, you're protected. And you can take that contract to the trade unions we looked at before Christmas. You can reference that. You can see how much you're going to get paid and so on. And it gives you something to, if you need to, take the businesses to court. We then have the Health and Safety at Work Act. Now you can see this is 1974, but it's still relevant now. And the key thing is here is it makes the business responsible for the health and safety of its employers. Okay, now it doesn't mean it has to make sure that you get paracetamol if you're ill or anything else like that. It means that anything at work has to take into consideration the health and the safety of the employees. So at work, they have to make sure they provide you with a stepladder and don't expect you to climb up on a chair because it can affect your safety. And with things like health, you have to be careful with chemicals. They have to be approved. You have to have lists of what's in these chemicals. So if there was an accident, you could take it to the hospital. It's all about protecting the employee. This is not about protecting the business. It's about protecting the employee. Okay. So as it says, the law makes it the responsibility of the employer to protect the workers from dangers in the workplace. Responsibilities include providing safety equipment, washing facilities, toilets, and adequate breaks. Okay, it's about making sure everyone's safe. It can even be things like providing office chairs that are adjustable. People who are working on computers are supposed to have an adjustable chair so that their eyesight and their eye line is in line with the monitor. Okay, all of it's covered by health and safety. Now, this picture, I've got a copy for you printed out. I want you to stick it into your book, and I want you to identify as many health and safety issues that are in this workplace. What could cause a health and safety issue for the people working in this office? Now, again, because I want you to do other tasks, I want no more than 5 to 10 minutes to identify these things. Okay, all you've got to do is circle them, and we'll go through them next lesson. The last piece of legislation, so that's 4 pieces of legislation, is the minimum wage. Okay, this was introduced to stop workers being exploited by employers. There are some exceptions to the legislation, including au pairs and members of the armed forces. And in the grand scheme of things, the minimum wage is relatively new. It was introduced or reintroduced in 1997 and has been around since then. And it sets a minimum rate for 3 different age groups. Okay. It was updated last year. These are the current figures. So if you're aged 16 to 17, you should be paid a minimum of £3.68. 18 to 20-year-olds, £4.98. And if you're over 21, you must be paid a minimum of £6.19 an hour. Okay. Now, it is a minimum wage, so the business can pay more than that. And most good businesses will pay more than that. But as a minimum, you have to pay that. And the government does it because they argue it then provides a minimum standard of living for everyone. Okay, that's it for this. There are tasks that your teacher will give to you that are governing legislation. And as I said, after the first half of the lesson, we'll come back and look at organisation charts.